Who gave you this?
Someone who understands me.
She swore our love was unbreakable. Yet another man was drinking my whiskey on my couch, bare feet on my table, acting like he'd paid the mortgage. I stood there in the doorway, keys still in my hand, watching this stranger reach for my remote like it belonged to him. My wife, Emily, didn't even flinch. She just shot me that lazy, annoyed look like I was the one intruding. Can I help you?" the guy asked, finally turning his head. He was all gym muscles and smug grin. The kind of dude who thinks a tight shirt is a personality. My voice came out way calmer than I felt. "You can start by taking your feet off my table." He froze. That word, my, seemed to hit him a second too late. He pulled his legs down, but slowly, like it was a favor, not respect. Emily rolled her eyes and stood up, crossing her arms. "Jesus, Noah, don't start." There it was. No hi. No, you're home early. No, nothing. Just irritation. Like I'd walked into her house uninvited. I studied the room in one sweep. His jacket thrown over the back of my chair. 2 glasses on the coffee table. Her hair messy in that way I used to think was our thing after we'd been intimate on lazy Sundays. Now it just looked used. I took a breath and asked the question I'd been rehearsing in my head for weeks. "Who is he?" She didn't even hesitate. "This is Tyler, a friend. We were just hanging out." Tyler gave me a half wave, like we were at some casual barbecue, not in the middle of my life falling apart. "Just hanging out," I repeated, my eyes moving from the glasses to the way she stood slightly closer to him than to me. "In my house, with my wife." Emily's jaw tightened. "Your house? We both live here, Noah. You don't own me." That word sliced deeper than I wanted to admit. Own. I wasn't asking to own her. I just thought we were on the same team. That's all. Stupid, right? Tyler shifted, clearly uncomfortable now. "Maybe I should." "No," she cut him off, her voice sharp. "Stay." He's being dramatic. Dramatic. That's what she called it. I swallowed. "Emily, I'm only going to ask this once, and I want the truth. What's he doing here? Really?" She stared at me, lips pressed in a firm line, and for a second I hoped I'd see guilt. But instead, her expression softened into something worse. Pity. She stepped closer, lowered her voice, and leaned in like she was about to comfort me. Instead, she whispered, "He gives me what you don't." It felt like someone had hooked a fist into my ribs and squeezed. Behind her, Tyler looked like he wanted to sink into the couch cushions and disappear. He didn't defend me, didn't deny it. He just looked away. I let her words echo in my skull for a beat. "He gives me what you don't." More attention, more compliments, more whatever. It didn't even matter what she meant. The message was clear. I wasn't enough. Not for her. I nodded slowly. "Okay." My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone hearing their own eulogy. "Good to know." She mistook my calm for surrender and smirked, that cruel little twist of her lips she saved for when she wanted to cut deep. "Oh, don't act surprised. You've been checked out for months. What did you think would happen?" That was the moment I almost snapped. Almost told her everything. Almost pointed to the tiny black dot in the corner of the room where I'd hidden the camera. Almost pulled out my phone and played the audio I'd saved, the one where she laughed with him in our bedroom, saying my name while talking about how boring I'd become. She had no idea I was keeping proof. None. Instead, I took a step back, slipped my keys into my pocket, and forced myself to breathe like a normal human being. Tyler cleared his throat. "Look, man, this is messed up." I didn't. "Tyler, shut up," she snapped. "This is between me and Noah." Interesting choice of words. Between me and Noah. But she'd already dragged another man into our marriage and given him my seat, my glass, my space, and clearly more than just that. I looked right at her. "You're right, Emily. This is between me and you, and we're going to talk about it. Just not tonight." She frowned, confused. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," I said, feeling something cold and sharp click into place inside me, "that I've heard enough for one evening." Her eyes narrowed. "You can't just walk away from this conversation." "Oh," I replied, a humorless smile tugging at my mouth. "You'd be amazed what I can walk away from." I turned and headed toward the hallway, feeling both of their eyes burning holes in my back. Every step felt like I was walking through wet concrete. the weight of 10 years dragging at my heels. Our wedding day, her promises, the nights we lay awake planning our future. All of it suddenly cheap. "Where are you going?" she called after me. I paused at the doorway to the bedroom. Our bedroom, where I knew another man had already played the role I used to think was mine alone. My fingers brushed the frame, right over the spot where a week ago I'd mounted the tiny hidden camera. I didn't look back when I answered, to decide how honest I want to be with you. There was a beat of silence, then the sharp clap of her footsteps as she came closer. "What is that supposed to mean, Noah? Stop talking in riddles. You always do this. You twist everything. You're trying to make me feel guilty when you—" I turned my head just enough to meet her eyes. For the first time, she actually looked uncertain. "Good. I'm not trying to make you feel anything," I said quietly. "I'm just finally listening. To you. To him. To everything you thought I didn't see." Her face shifted, confusion, irritation, that flicker of fear she tried to hide with sarcasm. "You're being weird. Can we just be adults and talk like normal people?" "Sure," I said. "We'll talk. Soon." I closed the bedroom door between us, letting it click shut with a soft finality that felt louder than any slam. On the other side, I heard her huff, heard Tyler murmur something, heard her snap at him again. I sat down on the edge of the bed, pulled out my phone, and opened the folder I'd named Renovation Quotes. Inside, video thumbnails stared back at me. Living room, kitchen, bedroom. Every lie she'd told for the past 3 weeks, neatly time-stamped. She thought she'd just told me the truth for the first time. But the truth? The truth had been living in my phone long before Tyler ever put his feet on my table. She swore our love was unbreakable long before Tyler ever walked through that door. But unbreakable doesn't suddenly shatter in one night. It cracks quietly first. Looking back, I can tell you the exact moment the first crack appeared. It was a Tuesday. Nothing special. I came home late from work, arms full of groceries because she'd texted, "Can you grab a few things? I'm exhausted twarz nużona." I remember smiling at my phone, feeling useful, like I was still her guy. When I walked in, the lights were low, no TV on, no music. Just Emily sitting at the kitchen table, phone in her hand, that little half smile on her lips, the one I used to think was reserved for me. As soon as she heard the door, her thumb moved faster than her brain. She didn't just lock the screen. She flipped the phone face down. That was new. "Hey," I said, putting the bags on the counter. "Rough day." She sighed dramatically and rubbed her temples. "You have no idea, Noah. I am drained. Can we not talk for a bit? My head is killing me." "Fair enough." I unpacked the groceries in silence, trying not to take it personally. I told myself, she's just tired. Don't make it about you. That became my mantra for a while. But then the little shifts kept stacking up. She started sleeping with her phone under her pillow. Her showers took longer. She'd say she was going for a drive to clear her head at 10 at night, coming back smelling like a mix of cheap bar soap and a cologne I didn't recognize. When I asked, she always had an answer. Always smooth. Always ready. "Why were you gone so long?" "Traffic, Noah. Do you want me to send you a live GPS next time?" "Why are you laughing at your phone at midnight?" "It's a meme for Madison." "Calm down. Not everything is a conspiracy." And I believed her. Not because the lies were good, but because I wanted them to be. The turning point came one night when she said she was going to girls' night at her friend Olivia's apartment. She dressed up more than usual, tight black dress, heels, that red lipstick she wore on our anniversary dinners. I remember standing in the doorway, watching her in the mirror as she smoothed the dress over her hips. "You look well," I said honestly. She barely glanced at me. "It's just a dress, Noah. Don't be weird." She left around 8 p.m. At 10:30, Olivia posted a story on Instagram. A selfie in pajamas, face mask on, caption, "Solo spa night. Finally some peace face with tears of joy to solo." I stared at that story for a long time. I replayed it, checked the timestamp, checked it again, just in case my brain was trying to invent drama. Then I did something I'd never done before. I took a screenshot. My heart was pounding like I'd just robbed a bank. When Emily came home past midnight, hair messy, lipstick half faded, she smelled like a different world. Not ours. A mix of sweat, cologne, and some cheap air freshener that wasn't from our car. "How was Olivia?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. She kicked off her heels, tossed her bag on the couch, and shrugged. Fine. We watched garbage TV, ate junk food. You know, girl stuff. You be bored out of your mind. Yeah. I nodded slowly. Sounds fun. She didn't notice the way I was studying her. The way her eyes slid slightly to the left when she lied. I read somewhere that people do that. I never cared before. Now I cared about everything. That night, while she showered, I sat in the dark living room with my phone in my hand and a knot in my stomach. I had a choice: confront her with a screenshot and hear another rehearsed excuse, or quietly start paying attention. For the first time in our marriage, I picked pay attention. 2 days later, I bought a tiny camera online, the kind marketed to paranoid parents and bad bosses. I told myself I wouldn't actually install it, that I was just being ridiculous. That would sit in a drawer next to the batteries and lost screws. It didn't. The day I mounted it in the corner of the living room, Emily was at yoga. Her mat was still rolled up in the hall closet. That was the moment our marriage changed, even if she didn't know it yet. She thought she was playing in the dark, but I just turned the lights on. The camera arrived in a brown box that looked boring enough to hold light bulbs or printer ink. Nothing about it said, "Hey, I'm here to destroy whatever illusions you have left about your marriage." I installed it on a Thursday. By Saturday, my life had a before and after. I picked a corner in the living room, high enough that Emily wouldn't notice, angled just right to see the couch, the hallway, and the front door. I told myself it was temporary, just until I feel stupid enough to take it down, I muttered while tightening the tiny screw. That night, Emily announced she was going out with the girls again. Same black dress, same red lipstick, same perfume she only used on our anniversaries. Her phone buzzed twice while she was getting ready. She angled the screen away from me every time. "Big night?" I asked, leaning against the doorway. She didn't look at me. "Can you not hover? I'm already late." "Where are you going exactly?" She sighed loudly, like I was a child asking why the sky is blue. "I told you. Madison, Olivia drinks downtown. Why are you being so clingy lately?" Clingy. That stung. For months, she'd been a ghost in our own house, and the first time I asked a real question, I was clingy. "Text me when you get there," I said, "and when you're heading home." She rolled her eyes. "Yes, Dad." The door closed. Her heels clicked away. My heart didn't follow her this time. It stayed right there in the living room, staring at the camera hidden in the corner. I waited. At first, I tried to distract myself. Dishes, laundry, mindless scrolling. Every minute stretched. I checked the time constantly, like that would change what was or wasn't happening across town. An hour in, curiosity beat fear. I opened the app and connected to the camera. Live feed. The living room looked exactly how I'd left it. Couch, table, lamp. Empty. I watched the empty room for a full 10 minutes, feeling insane. Then I closed the app and told myself to stop. She texted me an hour later. "Made it. All good. No photo, no background, nothing. Just the minimum." Another hour passed. Then another. Sometime after midnight, I heard the front door unlock. I didn't move from the bedroom. I just opened the app again. And there she was. Emily walked into the living room, barefoot, heels in her hand, hair messy. She looked flushed, alive in a way she hadn't looked with me in months. She was laughing at something behind her. Then he stepped into frame. Tyler. He closed the door with his foot, grinning like he owned the place. Like this wasn't my home, my life, my wife. My chest tightened, but my hand stayed steady on the phone. I watched as he tossed his keys on the table, my table, and pulled her in by the waist like this was their routine. "Think he's awake?" Tyler asked, voice low. Emily smirked. "Noah, please. He's probably passed out with his laptop on his chest. He doesn't notice anything unless it has a deadline or a price tag." It hit harder than I expected. Not just the way she dismissed me, but how easy it came to her. Like she'd been rehearsing that line. They moved to the couch. She curled into him, head on his shoulder, scrolling through her phone. I watched them talk, laugh, touch like I was some dead husband haunting his own house. Then it got worse. She stood up, took his hand, and led him toward the hallway. Our hallway. The camera caught them disappearing in the direction of the bedroom. My stomach turned. I didn't watch the rest in real time. I couldn't. I closed the app before they reached the door, but I didn't stop the recording. I just sat there in the dark, phone on my lap, hands shaking, listening to the faint sounds drifting through the wall. Laughter. A muffled thud. Her voice, higher, breathless, saying his name in the same tone she used to say mine. They weren't just crossing a line. They were dancing on the ashes of it. When the quiet finally settled, I reopened the app and scrubbed through the footage with my thumb, frame by frame. I watched them come back into the living room later, flushed and relaxed. That lazy, satisfied energy that used to be mine to share with her. Tyler buttoned his shirt slowly, like he had all the time in the world. Emily stood close, whispering something in his ear that made him smirk. Then she said it. She swore our love was unbreakable, yet another man treated my home like his own. I froze. She was reading something off her phone. A message. A caption. I couldn't tell. She laughed and added, when he finally asked why, I'll just tell him, he gives me what you don't. Tyler chuckled. Savage. She grinned proudly. Well, it's not a lie. She had no idea every word was already mine, not as a husband, but as a witness. That night, watching them on my screen, something inside me shifted. I stopped being the confused, hopeful idiot trying to save a marriage. I became the man who had proof. Sleep didn't happen that night. Not really. I lay there next to her, listening to her breathe like nothing had changed. She curled up, back to me, the same way she always did when she was too tired. Only now I knew that too tired meant drained from giving someone else the version of her I used to think was mine. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that living room footage. Tyler's smirk, her smile, her voice rehearsing the line. She ended up whispering to me later like it was spontaneous. He gives me what you don't. The sentence replayed until it stopped hurting and started hardening into something sharp. In the morning, I got up early and made coffee like a robot. Emily didn't join me. She slept in. Translation, she didn't want to look me in the eye yet. Guilt has its own alarm clock, and hers wasn't ready to go off. I sat at the table, phone in my hand, rewatching the recordings. Not because I enjoyed the pain, because I needed clarity. Details. Patterns. Liars depend on fog. Proof needs light. I exported the videos, saved them in 3 different places. On my phone, on a hidden USB, and in a cloud folder named something boring and forgettable. Tax documents 2021. No one on earth voluntarily opens that. Around 9, she wandered into the kitchen wearing my old college hoodie like a punchline. Morning, she muttered, heading straight for the coffee. Morning, I echoed. She didn't look at me, just poured, scrolled, sipped. The Holy Trinity. Did you have fun last night? I asked casually. She yawned. Yeah, girls' night. We needed it. I studied her face. Not a single crack. She'd lie looking you straight in the eyes and then get offended you doubted her. That was her special talent. How's Olivia? I asked. She froze for half a second. Tiny. Almost nothing. Then she recovered. Good. Why? No reason, I said, taking a sip of my coffee. Just wondering how her solo spa nights are treating her. Her head snapped up. Our eyes met. There was that flash of confusion turning into something defensive. What's that supposed to mean? She asked. Nothing, I replied. Just thought it was interesting she posted a finally alone story while you were supposedly at her place. She scoffed. Oh my God, Noah. Are you stalking my friends now? She posted that later. Or earlier. I don't know. People repost stuff. Stop being paranoid. The lie came out smooth, polished, like she had a drawer full of them ready to go. I could have shown her the timestamp. Could have pulled up the screenshot and watched her scramble. But that would have been a skirmish. I wanted a war-ending moment. So I let it slide. You're right, I said softly. Maybe I'm overthinking. She rolled her eyes and left the kitchen, satisfied she'd won whatever that was. But I wasn't overthinking. I was planning. I went to work that day, but my head never left the house. Numbers on the screen blended into Emily on the couch, Tyler on my table, their bodies disappearing down the hallway. My coworkers asked if I was okay. I gave the standard answers, just tired, long week, need more coffee. If only they knew. By lunch, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw things. I wasn't going to become the unhinged husband in some story she'd tell later to justify what she'd done. No, I was going to let the truth do the talking. That evening, I came home early. The sun was still out, bleeding soft orange light into the living room. Emily was on the couch, scrolling her phone, feet tucked under her, a blanket over her legs like she'd been there all day. "You're home early," she said, glancing up. "Yeah," I replied, shrugging off my jacket. "Figure we could have a quiet night. Just us." She narrowed her eyes slightly. "Suspicious. What's the occasion?" "Do I need one?" I forced a smile. "I thought we could talk. You know, like adults." Her shoulders tensed. She hated that word when it came from me. Adults. To her, it meant accountability. To me, it meant finally stopping the performance. "Fine," she said carefully. "About what?" "Everything," I answered. "But first, I walked over to the TV and grabbed the remote. Let's watch something together. For old time's sake." She frowned. "What are you doing?" I connected my phone to the TV with a couple of taps. The screen went black, then mirrored my home screen. My fingers hovered over the folder labeled renovation quotes. This was it. Proof was about to learn how to breathe. Emily watched the TV like it was a bomb, and I was the idiot lighting the fuse. "What are you doing, Noah?" she repeated, sharper this time. "Relax," I said, even though my heart was hammering. "Just a home video." I opened the renovation quotes folder. A grid of thumbnails stared back at us, still frames of our living room, our hallway, our life. She didn't recognize them yet. Why would she? She never expected anyone to be watching when she thought she was performing in the dark. I clicked the first one. The TV showed our empty living room. Couch, table, lamp, front door. Same as always. Emily snorted. "Seriously?" she said. "We're watching the furniture." "Give a second," I murmured. We didn't wait long. On the screen, the door opened. There she was, walking in with her heels in her hand, hair messy, makeup smudged in that very specific way I'd seen a week ago. Behind her, Tyler stepped into frame, closing the door with his foot, grinning. Emily went completely still. Real-life Emily, on the couch next to me, stopped breathing for half a moment. Her hand tightened around the blanket. I saw the exact second recognition hit. "What is this?" she asked quietly. Her tone had changed. Less annoyed, more calculating. I didn't take my eyes off the screen. Footage from our living room. "From when?" "From one of your girls' nights." We watched in silence as TV Emily curled up against TV Tyler on our couch, laughing at something on her phone. As he kissed her neck, as she tilted her head back and smiled in that way I hadn't seen directed at me in months. Real Emily swallowed. "Turn it off." "No, Noah, I'm serious." "Turn it off. This is creepy. Why are you recording me?" Finally, I looked at her. "Are you really going to start with that?" "Not, I'm sorry. Not, it's not what it looks like. We're jumping straight to, how dare you catch me?" Her eyes flashed. "You invaded my privacy. You invited another man into our home." I shot back. "Into our bed. Into our life." I didn't invade anything. I collected evidence. That word hung in the air between us. On the TV, she was leading Tyler down the hallway, their bodies brushing, hands wandering. I paused the video before the bedroom door closed. The frozen frame showed them mid-laugh, comfortable, familiar. "Turn it off," she said again, but now her voice was shaking, not with guilt, but with rage. She was the kind of person who got angrier when the mirror didn't lie. "Why?" I asked softly. "You swore our love was unbreakable, remember? Yet another man treated my home like his own. I just wanted to see what unbreakable looks like on camera." Her eyes widened. She knew those words. She'd practiced them. "What did you say to him that night?" I continued. "Something like, well, he finally asks why. I'll just tell him. He gives me what you don't." Her lips parted slightly. For the first time, she didn't have a ready-made line. "How long have you been spying on me?" she asked, lowering her voice. That fake calm she used when she was about to go for the throat. "Long enough," I replied. "Long enough to know this wasn't a one-time mistake. Long enough to know you didn't just trip and fall into some guy's arms because you were lonely." She scoffed, but it sounded hollow. "Oh, please. You're acting like some detective in a bad movie. Do you have any idea how insane this is? Hiding cameras? Recording me without my permission? That's illegal, Noah. I could call the cops." There it was. Threat, not remorse. "Go ahead," I said calmly. "We can show them the videos together. I'm sure they'll be very interested in how your friend treats my house like a hotel." She glared at me, jaw clenched. You're unbelievable. Funny, I said. I was just thinking the same about you. On the TV, I skipped to another video. Different day. Same couch. Same man. Her legs across his lap. Her laughing into his shoulder while texting someone, probably me, that she was exhausted and needed space. Stop, she snapped. You made your point, okay? No, I said. Not yet. I'll let the footage roll until she started talking. We listened to TV Emily complaining about me. How boring I'd become. How I never noticed anything. How she could sneak an elephant in here and he'd think it was a new lamp. Real Emily frowned. That's taken out of context. There is no context that saves this, I replied. She stood up suddenly, the blanket falling from her legs. So what now, Noah? You want me to beg? Cry? Admit I'm the villain in your little drama? Yes, I said, brutally honest. I want you to admit what you did. She laughed. Actually laughed. Fine, she said, hand on her hips. You want honesty? Here. I was miserable. You were checked out. You stopped touching me, noticing me, seeing me. You were married to your job, your spreadsheets, your routines. Tyler made me feel alive again. He gave me attention, compliments, heat, and I took it. Happy now. Her words hit like punches, but each one landed on skin already bruised. I nodded slowly. So, you decided the best solution was to blow up our marriage behind my back instead of talking to me. I did talk to you, she snapped. You just didn't listen. I met her gaze steadily. I'm listening now. For the first time, she didn't know where to swing. She stood there, daring me to break. I didn't. Not this time. You're listening now? Emily scoffed. Congratulations. You finally woke up when the party was already over. The party you threw in my house, I said quietly. With my wife. Using my life as background decoration. She rolled her eyes. Always the victim. You really love that role, don't you? That one landed. Hard. Because for a long time, I had been the victim, at least in my own head. The guy things happened to. The one who worked, paid the bills, tried his best, and somehow still fell short. But sitting there with my betrayal playing in HD on the TV, something inside me shifted. I was done watching my own life like a sad movie. I'm not the victim, I said slowly. Not anymore. I'm the one holding the proof. That changes things. She laughed again, but it was thinner now, fraying at the edges. Oh, please. What are you going to do, Noah? Show your little home movies to your friends? To my family? You think anyone's going to side with the guy who put spy cameras in his own house? You look like a controlling creep. She thought that was checkmate. But all it did was make something cold settle in my chest. Maybe, I admitted. Maybe some people will think I went too far. Maybe some will think I should have just trusted you blindly while you lied straight to my face. I took a breath. But I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing it for me. She blinked. That, she didn't expect. For you, she repeated, mocking. You're such a martyr. No, I said. I'm a man who's finally done begging for the truth. Silence stretched between us. The only sound in the room was the faint hum of the TV, frozen on her laughing with him. You'd think this was the part where she broke, where the guilt finally hit and she crumbled, crying, apologizing, grabbing my hands and begging for another chance. That's not who Emily is. Instead, she crossed her arms, tilted her head, and went for cruelty. You know what the worst part is? She said. Tyler may not be perfect, but at least he wants me. At least he looks at me like I'm not just part of the furniture. You can't even fake that anymore. It stung. Not because it was true, but because once I had looked at her like that, and she'd taken that version of me and ground him into dust. So that's your justification? I asked. You felt unwanted, so you blew a hole through our marriage instead of opening your mouth. I did open my mouth, she shot back. You were just too busy with your spreadsheets and budgets and 5-year plan to hear anything that wasn't perfectly scheduled. Something inside me snapped. Not into rage, but into clarity. I'm done arguing about whose pain is prettier, I said. You made your choice. Repeatedly. I'm just finally respecting it. She frowned. What does that mean? It means I'm not fighting you for your loyalty anymore, I said. You already gave it away. I walked over to the TV and turned it off. The screen went black, and for a moment the room felt weirdly peaceful, like the truth had sucked all the oxygen out and left only silence. I'm going for a drive, I said, grabbing my jacket. Oh, so now you get to disappear? She snapped. Typical. Run away when things get real. I turned to the door. Emily, you've been gone for months. I'm just finally catching up. Her face twisted, but she didn't answer. I stepped outside. The air hit me like cold water. I stood on the porch, breathing in the night, heart pounding, hands shaking. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Messages from work, a notification from the cloud backup I'd said earlier. Proof. Always there now. In my pocket. In the cloud. In my head. I got in the car and just drove. Not anywhere specific at first. Just away. Away from the couch where another man had sat. Away from the bedroom where she'd whispered someone else's name. Away from the version of me who thought loving someone meant tolerating the slow death of self-respect. Eventually, I ended up in a parking lot outside a 24-hour diner. The kind of place that smelled like burned coffee and old stories. I didn't go in. I just sat there with my hands on the steering wheel, staring at the glow of the dashboard. My mind replayed everything in brutal detail. The lies, the footage, her words. He gives me what you don't. And for the first time, instead of asking, what does he give you that I don't? I asked, what have I been giving you that I should have kept for myself? Time, patience, second chances, soft landings, endless benefit of the doubt. I opened my phone and scrolled past the videos, past the screenshots, until I reached my banking app. I stared at the joint account, the savings, the house payments. This wasn't just a broken heart situation. This was a battlefield. I transferred part of the savings to a separate account with my name only. Not to be petty, to survive, to make sure that when this exploded, and it would, I wouldn't be standing barefoot in the blast. As I confirmed the transfer, my reflection stared back at me in the dark screen. Same face, same eyes, different man. That night, in that empty parking lot, I realized something. Emily had already written me out of her future. I was just finally picking up the pen. I drove home long after the parking lot lights flickered into their automatic midnight mode. Somewhere between the diner and our street, I stopped rehearsing comebacks and started rehearsing exits. Not dramatic ones, strategic ones. The kind you don't announce. The kind that leave impact without noise. When I walked through the front door, Emily was sitting on the couch with her arms crossed, as if she'd been waiting to continue the argument like it was a paused TV show. You done running? She asked without looking up. I didn't answer. I hung my jacket, toed off my shoes, and sat in the armchair across from her, the one spot Tyler never touched. Funny how betrayal turns furniture into territory. She studied me. So, what's the verdict, Judge Noah? I'm not a judge, I said calmly. Judges deal with gray areas. This is black and white. She scoffed, but her foot tapped. Nervous energy. So what now? She pushed. You planning to leave? Throw me out? Post the videos everywhere. Her voice carried a tone that wasn't fear, it was challenge. Emily always needed to feel like she was winning something. No, I said. I'm planning. Planning what? Life after you. That hit her like a slap she didn't see coming. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. You're being dramatic. I smiled. A real one, not the practice one I used to wear just to keep peace. No, I was dramatic when I begged for your time, when I waited for your attention, when I ignored every red flag and called it love. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. You said I was checked out, right? That I stopped seeing you? That I made you feel invisible. Her chin lifted, ready for another attack. You're right, I admitted. I'd have stopped seeing you. Not because I didn't care, because the person I married started disappearing before Tyler ever arrived. That struck something. She leaned back, arms loosening slightly. What's that supposed to mean? She asked. It means, I said, you didn't cheat because you were unloved. You cheated because you loved being admired. You don't want a partner. You want an audience. Her jaw clenched. You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't I? I asked. Look at how angry you are that I didn't scream, cry, or beg. You don't want honesty. You want attention. Even now, you don't regret what you did. You regret that I caught you. She blinked rapidly, as if trying to reset the conversation. You're twisting this. You're making yourself the hero. No, I said, voice steady. I'm making myself the main character in my own life again. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was surgical. It cut everything open. She stood and paced. You think you can just walk away like that? After everything? You walked away first, I replied. I'm just closing the door behind you. Her laugh came out sharp and ugly. Good luck, Noah. You're boring. Predictable. You're going to be alone and miserable. I tilted my head. Funny. I was alone and miserable with you. That's the part you don't get. She stopped pacing. Something flickered in her eyes. Not guilt, not regret, but recognition. Not me. Of herself. Like she'd suddenly realized I wasn't the version of Noah she'd been fighting for control over. I stood. I'll be contacting a lawyer, I said. We'll figure out the logistics. Her mouth fell open. A lawyer? Seriously? You're divorcing me over a few mistakes. A few mistakes, I repeated slowly. That's one way to describe bringing another man into our home, into our bed, into our life. But sure, let's call it typo. She lunged forward. You're not leaving me. I stepped back. You already left me, I said softly. You just kept my name, so the bills stayed paid. That one landed like a bullet. She staggered emotionally, even if her feet didn't move. I walked toward the hallway. She followed. Noah, stop. We can fix this. People fix things like this all the time. I turned. People fix accidents, I said. Not patterns. Her face twisted. Anger, fear, and ego wrestling for control. She wasn't losing her husband. She was losing her mirror, her audience, her proof that she was desirable because someone tolerated her chaos. She grabbed my arm. What about everything we built? I gently pulled away. You burned it, I said. I'm just sweeping up what's left. I went into the bedroom, our bedroom, and opened the closet. I didn't need to pack much. When you stop pretending, you realize how little belongs to you. Emily stood in the doorway, stunned silent for once. Noah, please don't do this. There was not remorse, fear of consequence. I looked at her, really looked, and something incredible happened. I felt nothing. No ache, no nostalgia, no desire to fix what was shattered. When love dies, it doesn't always explode. Sometimes it goes quiet. I'm not leaving because you cheated, I said finally. She frowned. Then why? I'm leaving because you enjoyed it. She froze. Because she knew that was the truth that killed everything. Not what she did, but the pleasure she took in doing it. I picked up my bag and walked past her. Her lips trembled. Where will you go? Forward. And for the first time since this nightmare started, that word didn't feel like an escape. It felt like a direction. If you want part 8, the conclusion, tell me, produit, and I will complete the final 600-word chapter that ends the story with impact, reflection, and a message for the audience. Leaving wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a slammed door, a screaming match, or a last-minute chase down the driveway. It was quiet, almost gentle, a decision that didn't need witnesses. A moment where I finally realized pain stops owning you when you stop feeding it. I walked out of the house with one bag, a suitcase that suddenly felt like it weighed less than my own name. Emily stayed inside, staring at me as if her gaze alone could rewrite what she'd broken. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't collapse in guilt like a movie character. She just stood there, rigid, furious, stunned. A woman who had finally seen that the fire she lit wasn't controllable, and now it was burning her too. As I stepped into the evening air, something unexpected hit me. Silence. The kind that didn't feel empty. The kind that felt earned. It wasn't peaceful, not yet, but it was mine. I didn't check my phone for hours. When I finally did, there were 5 messages from Emily. 1. We need to talk. 2. Don't make this worse than it is. 3. We can fix this if you stop acting like a victim. 4. Are you seriously leaving me over some videos? 5. If you show anyone that footage, I swear I will destroy you. No apologies. No accountability. Just threats, blame, and panic. Classic Emily. I didn't reply. By morning, she'd shifted tactics. 6. Please come home. I didn't sleep at all. 7. I love you. Don't throw everything away. 8. Tyler doesn't matter. You do. 9. I made a mistake. 10. Don't leave me alone. That last one told the whole truth. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of herself she could only maintain when someone else was there to measure it against. She needed contrast, a pedestal, a mirror, an audience. Without me, her narrative collapsed. I stayed at a small rental apartment I found near the harbor. The place was barely furnished, one chair, one table, a bed that creaked if you breathed wrong. But every object in it belonged to me and only me. On the first night there, I sat by the window, watching the lights flicker across the water. I thought about every moment of our marriage. The beginning when she laughed at my jokes without effort, the middle where our dreams were still aligned, and the end where I mistook routine for safety. It took betrayal to make me honest. I wasn't leaving because Emily found another man. I was leaving because she reshaped herself to be loved by anyone except the person she promised forever to. I had spent months trying to solve a puzzle that was never missing pieces. It was just a picture of someone who no longer existed. A week later, I met with an attorney. I laid everything out, the recordings, the timeline, the texts. He watched silently, eyebrows raised, occasionally shaking his head in disbelief. When the videos ended, he looked at me and said, "You didn't just uncover an affair. You documented intent." Intent, a word heavier than guilt, sharper than betrayal. He asked if I wanted to pursue everything I was legally entitled to. Once I would have hesitated, worried about looking bitter, cruel, vindictive. Now, I wasn't chasing revenge. I was collecting what was left of my dignity. Emily tried calling. She tried guilt. She tried nostalgia. Then she tried rage. "Emily, you're ruining my life." Me, "I'm leaving your life." Emily, "I'll tell people you abused me." Me, "The footage says otherwise." After that, she finally understood. The game was over. Not because I won, but because I stopped playing. A friend asked me recently if I missed her. I thought about that for a long moment before answering. No, I miss who I believed she was. There's a difference. Loving someone is hard. Loving someone who enjoys your pain is impossible. If you're reading this and you feel the ground shifting under your own marriage, listen closely. Cheating doesn't start between bodies. It starts between priorities, between conversations you stop having, between truths you stop telling, between versions of yourself you abandon to keep someone else comfortable. If someone ever makes you feel like you're not enough, remember this. You weren't meant to fill a void they refused to close. You weren't built to be a backup plan, a placeholder, or an emotional service animal. Sometimes love isn't tested by how much you endure. Sometimes it's proven by knowing exactly when to leave. Emily swore our love was unbreakable. She was half right. She broke us, but she didn't break me.